That is the world's largest snake, John. That's the largest snake I've ever seen. That's got to be the largest snake in the world, John.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
From unimaginably large snakes discovered in the Amazon to massive serpents in Southeast Asia, these Titanoboa sightings have gone global and can't be explained. Up first is a bound behemoth. This massive serpent was initially identified as a green anaconda, but one look at that immense head should tell you this is no ordinary snake. This behemoth was recorded at over 30 feet in length and weighing over a ton. Anacondas simply are not known to grow that large. This has led to some of the more creative to speculate that this could in fact be Titanoboa, or at least one of its descendants. The king of snakes allegedly went extinct 60 million years ago, but it may have passed down its enormous size to other later species, eventually leading to this massive beast being discovered by a Brazilian construction company. Sadly, it seems to have gotten more than a little squished during its capture. It was so massive the snake actually required heavy machinery to lift it out of its burrow. It's unclear whether it was squashed and then recovered, or if it was captured and then accidentally squashed. The snake is currently being studied by nearby researchers, hoping to discover what exactly made this snake grow so incredibly huge, and are there others of the same still in the Amazon. Next is a trapped terror. Humans never cease to both amaze and horrify me. Maybe it's because I'm from the city and not rural Brazil, but when I have a serious snake problem, I call someone else to deal with it. I don't set a trap with twine and PVC pipe with a chicken as bait. You can call that cowardice, but I personally think these people are just built different. After laying the trap, it turned out to be far more successful than they anticipated for, and now they're left with a gigantic snake tied down in their backyard. And this is why I hire professionals. But these people weren't totally unprepared, and they do end up getting the snake under control. And by under control, I mean roasting in a lovely stew. Unfortunately, that means this specimen is not available for further study. However, on initial sighting, many have said this looks indistinguishable from numerous claimed sightings of Titanoboa, raising many concerns as to just what the people of the Amazon are having to deal with. Some have even said this is merely a juvenile, an immature specimen well short of the fabled 40 to 50 foot size of Titanoboa. Next is spanning the Amazon. This may be some of the most compelling footage we've seen in a very long time. This video shows an unimaginably large snake swimming across the fast-moving Amazon River and slithering up onto the bank on the opposite side. While some have speculated that this could be a hoax, perhaps an animatronic or some sort of deceptive visual trickery, many, including the original poster of the footage, insist that the creature is an as of yet unidentified massive snake. The size of this reptile is truly staggering, far too large to belong to any known species, and it would easily surpass the largest anacondas or pythons on record. Some believe it could even be a living example of the prehistoric Titanoboa, the largest snake ever known to have existed, though it is likely to be a juvenile if that theory proves correct. At this point, little more is known about the incident, but there is hope that further sightings may shed light on the snake's true identity and its origins. Next is the Borneo Beast. This is the largest snake to ever have been seen on the island of Borneo, a place with an abundance of snakes. Initially, no one believed that it even existed, despite the eyewitness account of a schoolboy, and so there was no initial panic. However, when the schoolboy returned, having taken this footage while hunting through the woods for the same snake, fear and panic ensued. The concern was understandable, as snakes can be a severe threat to not only the villagers' livelihoods, but also to the villagers themselves. Soon the footage had gone viral, and the Indonesian government was requesting that the snake be captured for study. However, capture is not exactly in the lexicon of the rural Indonesian villagers, who are used to ending snakes on sight due to most of them being venomous, and so the snake was not recovered alive and intact. Despite this, the snake's remains have been brought to a research station in South Sulawesi in order to further study this genetic and scientific marvel. Next is the city serpent. No one could have expected that what would start as a series of bumps in the night would progress to this utter nightmare nightmare fuel. The tenants of the house spotted the very tip of the tail of the creature and mistakenly believed that it would be a small snake hiding out in their attic. Instead, once the professionals arrived, it was revealed that an utter behemoth, larger than any these people had ever seen before, had been calling their thin ceiling home for weeks. The experts began expertly yanking and tugging on the snake's tail, trying to extract it, ideally without harm to the snake or the dwelling, only to fail miserably in both regards. The dwelling is definitely damaged, as it seems like the entire ceiling drops out from under the snake, and I'm sure the snake didn't enjoy getting dropped onto the rubble of its former nest, aka the ceiling tiles. The snake continued baffling researchers after its recovery, as it seems most similar to an anaconda, and yet there are no anacondas in Thailand. Next is the Hillside Horror. This enormous snake was discovered on the farm of a Bolivian rancher, casually slithering through the backcountry fields and grazing pastures. The rancher, who had been dealing with missing cattle for months, feared the snake might be part of a larger problem. Perhaps other massive creatures were preying on his livestock. Deciding to follow it, he trailed the serpent for several minutes until it finally led him to a stream bordering his property, and there he found an entire den of snakes with half a dozen burrows dug into the bank, each seeming to hold a massive serpent. One immense snake, clearly swollen from eating, was coiled at the center of its den, having gorged itself on one of his cows. Terrified, the rancher immediately stopped letting his cattle into the stream area, choosing to water them instead by hand from then on. However, the issues have persisted. The discovery only confirmed his worst fears. There are other behemoths in the area, and his cattle are clearly no longer safe. And finally, the living legend. This snake is mind-blowingly large, and by mind-blowing, I mean that this creature seems almost too unbelievable to be real. It should be a hoax, yet everything we see in the footage suggests otherwise. The snake is clearly alive, mobile, and actively slithering into what appears to be some sort of den. The quality of the footage is absolutely fantastic, but it also raises some serious questions about the existence of such a massive reptile. Given that this footage was captured in Bolivia, it's possible that this could be one of the newly described northern anacondas, and if that's the case, it would be a striking example of just how large these snakes can grow compared to their more commonly known southern relatives. The snake in the video seems to be well over a foot in diameter and could potentially exceed 40 feet in length, which, if accurate, would place this snake squarely in the size range expected of Titanoboa, the largest snake to have ever lived. While Titanoboa was likely even thicker and more massive around than this one, the idea that such an enormous snake could still exist in the wild begs the question, if something this big can live today, why not another, even larger species? Why not the Titanoboa? Those were unseen Titanoboa sightings that scientists cannot explain. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.